Hello there, and welcome to the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. I am Vlad, and today we have a special interview with people who are involved in a business which is pretty much the Amazon of Bitcoin purchasing. And you should not call it Amazon of anything because they might sue you, but I'm saying it, and Amazon, you can sue me if you think that's inappropriate. But anyway, it's called ShopInBit. It's a web page where you go, you find all sorts of products from Bitcoin stuff all the way to mobile phones and laptops and whatever. You can even tell them to order stuff for you so you can pay for it in Bitcoin. And they even have a travel plan, which is why I invited the two masterminds behind this project. One of them is Lawrence, also, or better known as Lando Rothbardian, and he's the CEO and founder of ShopInBit.com. So, hi, Lando.
Hello there, Vlad. Thank you for this wonderful introduction.
And the other one is Travin, whom I've met in 2019 in Cluj in Romania at a conference. And he's the CTO, but CTO doesn't stand for Chief Technical or Technology Officer. It stands for Chief Traveling Officer because he takes care of all the flights and hotels and whatever. So, hi, Travin.
Hi, Vlad. Nice to see you again. Oh, small correction. It's Travin, but it's okay. Everybody makes that mistake, even my colleagues.
Oh man, like I remember a tweet from you where you said that it's not Travis, it's not whatever.
Kevin.
Yeah,
People have called me Kevin. It's kind of weird. Even Tavern.
Tavern. Like,
Yes.
I mean, you deal with hotels, so Tavern makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's fine. It matches the brand. That's the important part.
Okay, so I'll call you Tavern now. There's no going back from this.
You know what? Why not? It's okay.
Okay, so let's talk about ShopInBit. What is it, and why should people use it, and why should people spend their Bitcoin?
Yeah, so generally, we are Europe's biggest Bitcoin store. That means we have like 800,000 products available on our site to directly order. So that ranges from, as you already told the listeners, from laptops, uh, smartphones, but you can also like just buy toothpaste or toys for your kids or any almost any other kind of product that you can imagine. So 800,000 products is quite a lot. So and it's not voucher based or something, so it's just in the spirit of you go on the website, you search what you're looking for, and then you can just directly pay it with Bitcoin. Like that's it. We have our own BTC Pay server running, so you can pay with Bitcoin or with Lightning, and there is no extra step necessary. So, and then you just go, you ordered it. You don't even need to have a customer account because we are privacy first. That means the customer account is optional by default. So you actually have to uncheck a specific box that you want to make a customer account because we want to be able to delete all personal data after 30 days after shipping. And that is for me personally important because I just like this feel when you go into a regular brick and mortar store, right? You don't go there and then well, now they actually ask you all kinds of different stupid questions for their newsletters or point systems. But for ShopInBit, it was just the idea that it's the same as going to a regular brick and mortar. So you just go in, take your products, bring it to the cashier. The cashier says the price, you pay the money, and then you just leave, and that's it. No email, lots of email addresses or point system here. What's your zip code? What's your date of birth? Do you want to become premium membership? Blah, 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 and all that stuff. So it was just make it as simple as possible. And yeah, that's our main thing, the 800,000 products. And as you already teased, we have two other extra services. So Bitcoiners are very specific when it comes to spending their Bitcoins. And even with 800,000 products, you just cannot provide everything that a Bitcoiner might need. And so we had the idea to offer a second service where we as a company buy products for other Bitcoiners. And this you can like, there's all sorts of things that are ordered through our concierge service, as I like to call it. And that's the name on the website, because I have a hotellery background, so I always thought of the concierge as the best thing about a hotel. It's like you just go to someone and say, yeah, I need this and that, and then you just organize it, right? So it can range from, you need your monthly grocery shopping from, I don't know, like we have a couple of customers who just sent us these Excel spreadsheets, right? And there are like 150 products listed that they need, and then we have to go to 50 different web shops to order all the stuff and get it to the customer sent. So that's the first why use case of the concierge service, is that you just need convenience. The other thing is privacy. Some people don't like to provide to third parties their address. So we get all the products shipped first to our warehouse in Warsaw and then ship it out worldwide. So it can be just like an expensive watch that you don't want the seller know that you bought it, or it can be something raunchier. So, but again, no judgment on our side. We, as long as it's legal.
Oh yeah, you have quite a lot of sex toys. It's inescapable.
Yes,
like if you browse the website, you see that section and you're like, yeah, well, what's in here? And you realize, okay, thousands of products. I had no idea that stuff even existed.
I didn't either. Yeah. And that's the concierge service. So it can be anything from like the grocery shopping up to a car. That always depends on your own budget. And we take a flat fee of 5% for concierge orders. And that's the second thing. And the third thing, I think Travin will talk about it a little bit more in detail, but it's our travel hacking service. So whether you are a business or just want to plan your vacation, again, it's about convenience and saving some sats. So Travin hacks everything from flights to hotels. I think ferries and cruise ships are also included, but cruise ships are also included, yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you just, I don't know, want to go to El Salvador and, I don't know, go to Adopting Bitcoin conference and want to get like a better deal for your flight and hotel stuff, then Travin is the guy to go to. But it could also be for your vacation in the Swiss Alps, and then you say, okay, right, I'll take my family there and want to go skiing. And then afterwards, I don't know, rent a snowmobile and reenact this one scene from the old James Bond movie. I don't know. You just have to ask Travin.
I mean, just Bitcoin possible. Or stuff, right? You want to feel like James Bond.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's our service around travel hacking is quite new. So, you know, we're trying to also kind of figure out what people actually want. So for me, myself, I'm a travel geek, more specifically an av geek and a train geek. There's a lot of information that's out there that's actually not easily accessible by people. And sometimes you need some previous knowledge. Like, so for example, you know, there's some flights on let's say Zurich to Dubai. There's 2 flights a day by Emirates. One is on a 777 and one is on an A380. If you're flying business class, you're going to pay almost exactly the same on both planes, no matter what. Except that the business class on the 777 is on a 232 configuration. That means you might be paying business class, but you're going to end up in a middle seat. Or if you're going to be an A380 instead, it'll be a 121 configuration, and you'll have a bar at the back that you get to go and drink whatever you want. And you're paying the same price. So it's, you know, it's saving money, but also getting good value. I'm trying to get a lot of relationships with hotel chains, things like that, so that anybody who books through us, you know, we already have this for some hotels where they get free breakfast, even if they just pay the basic room rate. They get a free upgrade if it's available. I just got somebody their first ever suite room in their life, and they were so happy about that. So yeah, a lot of these kind of things, just trying to deliver more value.
Yeah, so I gotta ask you, Travin, actually Tavern, as we established, why should I use your service as opposed to Cheap Air, which also accepts Bitcoin and has a BTC Pay integration?
Yeah, so it's for that kind of like knowledge, additional knowledge about knowing what's actually best for you. So we take a lot into consideration about what's important for people when they travel. I mean, when you book through any of these third-party sites as well, you you're just going to select the seat, and it might not say that, hey, this seat, by the way, on the plane, even if the entire plane is supposed to have power outlets, that specific seat does not. So I make sure to do that additional research for all of our clients. So if they tell me they need power, I'm going to make sure that their seat actually has power outlet. Although, of course, a plane change is possible, and I can't prevent that. The other one is that I try to find airfare. So this is the other side of travel hacking, where I try to lower the price. I've gotten clients up to 50% off the initially published price of the flight. In some cases, I got them business class while they were just paying the economy ticket. This is because I was able to notice some discrepancies. So I don't know where they get their flight price data, as well as where the booking finally goes through. But so, for example, if I see that there's some discrepancies with a aggregator and a direct booking, sometimes I can figure out if there's going to be an error fare that'll pop up with a code share flight. So a lot of these things, you don't know just by looking. Like I said, a lot of this information is out there, but it's not necessarily easily understood. But luckily, I have that knowledge, and we give that to our clients. And yeah, of course, if we can't beat their price, don't have to pay through us. I mean, when you fill out the travel hacking form, I essentially give an offer, and if it's okay to move forward, then you go for that. If for some reason there's somewhere else that's better, I always operate under the principle of go with what's best for you. So if it's what's best is not us, that's okay with me, and I can accept that.
Okay, to me it was kind of a very special discovery that CheapAir has this BTC Pay integration and lets you pay with Bitcoin. It makes everything a lot more memorable. But what is the website where you can access your service? Is it also on ShopInBit, or how can people contact you to search for flights?
Yeah, so it's in our concierge page. So there's a special link there in our concierge page if you want to have a travel booking. We're looking to further improve on this, because we know that there's some people who also just want, like, this is the flight that I want, these dates, these times, this airline, this seat. So all we have to do is just book it for them, because what's more valuable for them is just paying in Bitcoin. We're happy to do that. And so we're trying to add more ways for people to interact with us. Same thing with hotels, by the way.
And it's also on the start page. So you will see it. It's relatively easily findable. And in the end, in fact, it's just a form, as Travin already said, but the service behind it is Travin's mastermind of getting all the travel done in the most efficient and high quality way possible. So if you would like to compare it, like our concierge service, the regular one is just for regular products, but the same service level that we apply there is with the travel hacking service. So it's a totally, how would you call it in English? White glove service? Is that the term? I think so.
Yeah, to some degree. And then also another thing, with a lot of these third-party aggregator websites, I mean, I'm not, saying that this is the case specifically for that, but like if you book through Expedia or something like that, and you have a problem with your flight, you usually have to contact your travel agent. But that's because of the way that they booked your trip. Essentially what they've done is that they take a greater commission of the flight, and they become responsible for you. Because they have certain accreditation. They don't actually buy the seat from the airline. What they do is they actually rent that space and then issue the ticket to you. With the way we book it right now at ShopInBit, if you have a problem on your flight, you can line up and just talk to the airline themselves directly. They will not tell you to go talk to your travel agent. But that's because of the way we booked it. And that's why, because, we find other ways to reduce the price, and it's not just because we get like commission or something from the airlines.
Yeah. So Lando, you mentioned something about being able to use the concierge service to buy items up to a car. And you made me curious about what kind of car can you actually get? Can you actually buy a Lambo with ShopInBit?
You could, of course, but there's an asterisk, of course. So for these high-priced items, you have to have a previous purchasing history with us, because we get quite a lot of, let's say, jokingly requests, and it's very time-consuming and the manual work that we do with the concierge service. So when someone says, like, we got one email, for example, someone just wanted to see what we do, right? And he said, yeah, okay, I need to buy a Rolls-Royce Phantom, right? So that's not like a cheap car. And we do all the necessary research to make it as private as possible beforehand. So before you get the offer from us, we have already checked if we can do it in the most private way that's legally possible. But when there's just some jokingly requests like, yeah, okay, yeah, so just looking for a Rolls-Royce Phantom, what can you do? And it's not really serious. That's something that I would like to not have appear again. So that's why this is a special rule. So if you have not tried out our service before, you cannot just send us a message and say, yeah, get me a Lamborghini. And I would also recommend all the people who are listening to this, maybe just buy something regular from our store first, or make a concierge request for something small and see if we can actually provide the service that we claim to offer, right? Because there have been other types of services like ours in the past, and I've seen them all go bankrupt in the last 4 years. And ShopInBit is online since December 2018. So we started in the other bear market.
It was the worst of times to start anything.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I got so much negative flack for opening a store where you could spend your Bitcoin back in January 2019. But well, different times, right? Yeah, but of course you can buy almost anything. Like, let's stay with the car example. Like, I personally think the best Bitcoiner car is a Toyota Prius, just because it has low consumption. And like, there are these old school Toyota commercials that like, I think it was a South American one, where a father and his son, they drive on the road, and then they see a pretty lady on the side of the road with a like smoking engine, and then the father just keeps on driving, like doesn't even look at her. And his son asks him, like, yeah, why did you stop for the lady? She looked pretty good. And he said, well, did you see that she was driving a Toyota? A Toyota never breaks down. And I thought it's such a wonderful advertisement for Toyota. But in the end effect, man, they invented Kanban and all the other quality assurance systems, which most of the factories are using all over the world. So you would want to have a car that's like never breaks down and has almost no maintenance to do and consumes almost nothing. So I would say the Bitcoiner car will be a Toyota. It can also, of course, be a Corolla, but that just depends on your own taste, I guess. So we would just check out where we could buy that car. Like, mostly we are buying them from dealers, official dealers in Poland, because it's the easiest to do on the whole VAT stuff. That's a whole nother different topic, but just to sum it up. So Poland has a couple of, let's say, advantages over other jurisdictions. And when we buy stuff in Poland, it's the most unproblematic. We can, of course, buy all products from all over the world, but for bigger items, it makes sense to buy them directly in Poland. So we have no problems with VAT and stuff, which can always appear. It would probably break the scope of this talk right now. So just suffice it to say, we just look for it everywhere. And if we cannot find the best solution within Poland, we look for it outside of Poland as well. But for cars, we like to keep it within Poland. Yeah, to answer your question.
So I just want to show what I bought, because I guess in a few minutes I'm gonna play the ad for ShopInBit, and I'm gonna say this month on ShopInBit I bought Nintendo Game & Watch with the Legend of Zelda game, but I also bought Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for the Nintendo Switch, and Bayonetta free on the Nintendo Switch. And what I want to say about my experience, so this was basically just a purchase that I made before accepting you guys as a sponsor for the show to see how it works, because I just like to make sense out of it and figure out the business model and everything. So I'm a big fan of Nintendo games. I'm gonna start playing these. They're still sealed, and I kept them sealed for the purpose of this video, actually, so that they look nice. But yeah, it took about 5 days for these to arrive, 5 working days, because it was also over the weekend. So in total, it was about 7 days. And it was pretty cool. It felt nice to see that I've received something to my post office box from Poland, which was actually sourced probably from somewhere else. And this is the Bitcoin economy, you know? You use your Bitcoin to create demand for your Bitcoin. And I guess that's one of the most noble ways to use the Bitcoin, because if you only hodl, you only affect the supply but not the demand. Maybe you can argue that the supply is limited, so the demand is going to be higher and people are going to be willing to pay more for your Bitcoin if you refuse to sell it. But while the block reward is still high, I'm not sure if that's really the case. Institutions can just buy from miners and whatever. And we need to build this somehow. We need to establish Bitcoin as a currency. I remember I did an interview in 2018 with Jimmy Song, and he told me, no, never spend your Bitcoin. Use your credit card for all purchases. You're going to get nice points. You're going to use your points for other purchases, and that's the best kind of way. It's Gresham's law. You spend the bad money first, and you keep your good money. But is it really money if you don't transact with it? And that's also a dilemma that I was having. Like, if you only hold your Bitcoin, it's just a collectible and you hold it speculatively. You're not bringing any use case to it. You expect others to do it for you, and you expect them to basically build a value for yourself, and you're going to say, oh, I'm hodling, which means that I'm using it. It's not really using. You're affecting the economy indirectly, but you're not really using.
I mean, for me, like, whatever people do with their Bitcoin is up to them. You know, I'm not going to police what people do. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that is necessary to happen for Bitcoin to really succeed, and for people to be, you know, it really being used by society at large. And one of the reasons why I joined ShopInBit, you know, I'm not one of the co-founders, but I've been following Lando since the early days. I think I met him first year ShopInBit was around, and I was really impressed by it, because this is something that needs to become successful in order for Bitcoin to really have more use for people. Because one of the big questions that people have when, you know, you first talk about Bitcoin to them is, what can I do with it? And yeah, okay, have it be safekeeping for savings, things like that. But the fact that you could also use it to buy stuff. I mean, I live in Canton Zug in Switzerland. It's cool that I can actually say, yeah, I know that, you know, people try to say, get your tax down to zero and stuff like that, but there's always going to be fees somewhere. And I'm happy that I can actually, like, you know, pay any sort of government fee to the state here in Bitcoin. One of the big ways that the US dollar got accepted hundreds of years ago was because somebody had to come up and say, I will accept US dollar. And so that's really what kickstarted things off. And so that's the same thing that I hope that ShopInBit will be able to achieve. Of course, I'd like someday in the future where all of our suppliers also get, you know, are willing to take Bitcoin. That's currently not the case right now. But we have to take things one step at a time. Yeah. Sorry for going on that long time. Lando, I'll let you speak.
Sure, no problem. It was very eloquently put there. Yeah, to Jimmy Song. How do I put this friendly? So, yes, of course, you can use credit cards. You can collect all the points and then act like you're the big adoption player in the Bitcoin sphere. But that's very short-minded, and I think Saifedean would say that's a fiat mindset, right? Because there's this simple high-level concept. You might have heard of it. Spendle and replace. So after spending your Bitcoin, you can, if you are not already getting paid in Bitcoin fully, just buy them back. Like if you would go to other stores, it's the same principle. You can just, like, you're using a credit card, you're getting the points, but what are you actually buying with these points? You are selling your personal data. So if that's of any concern to you, then of course, yes, please be my guest, buy your stuff with credit cards, but then don't come talking to us about how it's stupid to use Bitcoin for spending, because we have to go by example, right? And as Travin already said, not all of our suppliers, or let's say the minority of our suppliers, accepts Bitcoin payments directly, right? And that has a reason, because when you are talking to these big level wholesalers, they are slow and they don't like change. And you have to convince them that it's actually beneficial for them. And what's not helpful is if you are not making any sales, for example, right? So if your sales numbers are good, they, of course, start getting interested. But if you have people in the Bitcoin sphere also saying, yeah, just use your credit card and be done with it, that's not really helpful. And what we want to achieve for the whole Bitcoin sphere is that people get inspired, right? So they see, okay, ShopInBit, oh my God, it actually works. Even though there's competition from Amazon and all the other marketplaces that are all over the planet. Like there is no country that doesn't have its own marketplace. So it's not like we have no competition, but it's still possible. We've been here for 4 years and it still works. So I think that is the more important point, that you use Spendle and Replace as a positive reinforcement for the whole Bitcoin economy. Like, if you are not spending your coins for products from creators that you like, then who will do it, right? It's not, you cannot control anyone else except yourself, right? So, and that is just the spirit of ShopInBit, that we want to just do what we say, right? That's where you can buy products on our store and we ship them. That's all we do. There's nothing extra, you could say. And but I also want everyone who's listening right now, think about ways how to become free of the fiat income stream, right? So as soon as we get more people on board that are getting fully paid in Bitcoin, then we are making progress, one pleb after another. It's always one step. So yeah, long rant, I'm sorry.
Are you concerned that your friends, neighbors, or KYC exchange might know how much Bitcoin you own? It is time to take your financial privacy seriously with Wasabi Wallet, a free and open source wallet solution which makes use of mega coin joins to mix your coins with those of hundreds of other strangers. Thanks to the groundbreaking Wabi Sabi engine, your coins get divided in smaller, untraceable units, which grant you great anonymity for both hodling and spending. Download Wasabi Wallet 2.0 today at wasabiwallet.io and take advantage of the mega coin joins. It's free and it's open source, so don't trust, verify. CryptoSteel are innovators in Bitcoin cold storage. Back in 2013, they launched the CryptoSteel cassette, which made it easy to back up your seed phrase, passphrase, or any other form of private key on the sturdy metal which resists water, fire, and earthquakes. Today, CryptoSteel offers the Motherload, an all-in-one box which endows you with everything you need to become financially sovereign. Inside of the Motherload, you get a CryptoSteel capsule and a hardware wallet of your choice. All CryptoSteel products are engineered and manufactured in Poland. Order your CryptoSteel metal backup system today on cryptosteel.com and use promo code BTCTKVR at checkout for a 10% discount on your first order. CryptoSteel, secure your wallet seed phrase. Are you a writer, photographer, musician, or video creator who's trying to generate some revenue? Bumby is the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. It's more censorship resistant than any other platform of its kind, with a low and flat one-time fee of 10%. Bumby is as easy to use as any social media mobile application. Sign up today at Bumby.com and subscribe for free to the Bitcoin Takeover account to get access to some time-exclusive content. If you are monetizing your creativity, why not get paid in Bitcoin for it? Bumby.com, the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. Shopping with your Bitcoin on the internet is easy. ShopInBit is Europe's biggest Bitcoin store with over 800,000 products, ranging from Bitcoin books, toothpaste, mobile phones, computers, and watches. This month, I bought a Nintendo Game & Watch console with the classic Legend of Zelda, and it arrived in only 5 working days. And if you can't find what you're looking for, ShopInBit has got you covered. Their concierge service will get you anything and ship it worldwide. Additionally, they also have a travel hacking service that can get you the best deals on all things travel, flights, hotels, and more, for business and for vacations. Bitcoin Takeover listeners get a nice discount, of course. Use code BTCTKVR on your first order for a one-time €5 discount. For more details, go to ShopInBit.com. ShopInBit, Europe's biggest Bitcoin store.
I just wanted to add, as myself, I'm actually a credit card geek. I'm a points geek. Like I use a lot of points to get really good travels and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it's really great and all, but it's just so much cooler to pay in Bitcoin, especially when you're considering, what Bitcoin can achieve. And I mean, also with the credit cards, there's a lot of restrictions out there in terms of maybe not hard restrictions, but foreign transaction fees. I know that US credit cards are a bit more popular, but for everyone else around the world, that's just not something that's, easy to get removed. You can get the most expensive American Express card in Switzerland, 700 francs, it's about 700 euros a year. And you still have to pay a foreign transaction fee when you cross the border by taking a 3-hour train to Germany. So, I get that statement, but it's just not applicable to everyone around the world. But even for those people, in the United States, I think that, and that's, I understand that we're focused on the European market at the moment, ShopInBit, but like I said, it's about kickstarting an ecosystem, and people who kickstart things aren't always the ones who are constantly making decisions that give them short-term wins. You need to build up an infrastructure. You need to make these decisions that, are not the best. I've made a lot of payments using Bitcoin where I could have used a credit card instead, where, I knew the person was happy to take Bitcoin, and I was happy to give up the points that I could get just for that, because that was helping build an ecosystem where this person was accepting Bitcoin and they were paying other people that were supplying them in Bitcoin. How can I not support that? So that's just, a call to action also to Bitcoiners out there that, making the decision to do this might not be the easiest. I know that a lot of people also bring up the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza thing. If you talk to Laszlo about it, he has no regrets. I also have no regrets for all of the contractors that I've paid or stuff that I paid that I could have, paid with fiat instead, because it's about building the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's much more than the ecosystem. It's about building an economy, which right now does not really exist. And you have to establish services and businesses and ways in which Bitcoin becomes useful. Otherwise, it's just this trading card, right? That people I guess, use as a collectible, and they hoard with the expectation that it's going to be worth more at a point in the future. And there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, you need to have an economy for the currency. I mean, you need to have an economy for it to be a currency. And the people, I guess, in El Salvador and the Central African Republic are very good examples of using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And that's the natural progression, I guess. We have proved that it can be a store of value. Up next, we have to figure out ways for it to be used for payments and then commerce. So I guess you guys are providing a very useful service. And those who want to establish or help establish a Bitcoin economy should consider using their BTC to buy stuff that they need as opposed to their credit card. It's also more convenient when you only have Bitcoin at one point and you want to buy something like a car, as we mentioned. I guess it's more efficient to just buy it with Bitcoin as opposed to exchanging your Bitcoin for fiat and then using your fiat for whatever.
Exactly. If you think that the extra step going to a centralized exchange and then getting paid out on your bank account is something you don't want to hassle around with, then our service, of course, can help. And I think it also depends on the jurisdiction that where you're located in, if it actually makes sense to just spend the coins instead of incurring extra taxes because you exchange them. But that always depends on their own jurisdiction. I cannot give any tax advice on that because I'm no tax accountant. But in general, yes, the theme is relatively easy, right? So, or let's put it another way. From a general perspective, the draconian measures that are currently being put in place to get us all siphoned into the CBDC lifestyle and having everything tracked, I don't think it's such a good idea to always rely on exchanging your coins on the regular KYC regulated exchanges in the long term, of course, right? I would, of course, love that. So for my personal dream, right? Let's just take a look in the future, right? There is no need to exchange your coins. You just buy stuff with Bitcoin, and the euro is, or the US dollar, or Great Britain pound, whatever, right? They are just relics of the past, of a violent past, right? You can just spend your Bitcoin because it's money. It's not Bitcoin anymore. People will finally come to the point where they say, when they say money, they mean Bitcoin. And there is no exchanging anymore necessary. But for that to happen, of course, we all have to, well, if you want to, of course, if you can afford it, that's probably the better term, right? So maybe you have newcomers to the space and they just bought their 0.001 Bitcoin and they are probably sitting in front of their PC and they're like, yeah, no, I'm not spending my 0.01 Bitcoin because I just acquired it, right? It's my savings. And yes, please don't buy stuff with your Bitcoin from our store if you have no savings in Bitcoin, because in the long run, we all will need Bitcoin to keep transacting with each other. But if you're in the capacity to help, or if your income is directly in Bitcoin 100%, then we would love to have your business with us if we can provide the product that you're looking for or the service that you're looking for, right? And yeah.
Absolutely. I maybe I was a bit too hard there when I was stating about the importance of building the ecosystem, or as Vlad correctly mentioned, the economy. Again, I'm not policing what people, or attempting to police what people do with their Bitcoin. I mean, certainly even for me, like when a majority of my income was paid in Bitcoin, I spent Bitcoin a lot more than when my income was in fiat, was predominantly in fiat, because it was just easier for me to spend in Bitcoin. And so, yeah, it's for those who can, and we will, on ShopInBit side, we will continue to try to give a good reason also to use your Bitcoin and spend it on our store. By, like, from the travel side, it's providing greater value. I mean, you could spend the same amount in fiat directly with the hotel, or you book with us and you get all these additional benefits, and you use Bitcoin. So we'll keep up with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and you guys also have a 3% discount for BTC payments.
Oh yes, I totally forgot about it. But then I'm only the CEO. Yes, we have had this discount since the beginning, because of course when you're paying with Bitcoin, we don't have to pay for PayPal or credit card charges, which are usually at about 3%. So we are giving this discount back to our users. So you can of course pay with PayPal and credit cards on our site as well, but then you have no privacy. So suit yourself, whatever. Jimmy Song, yeah, you can buy stuff with your credit card on our site as well. No, but our regular site is just for EU at the moment. So the concierge and the travel hacking is worldwide, but the regular website is just European Union because of all these export import rules. It's quite difficult to keep up with all the countries, so we just kept it simple for the beginning. But yeah, it's a 3% discount just to make sure that you understand that paying with fiat money means that we also receive less money, and all the other stores and all the other online shops that you find outside of our Bitcoin ecosphere, they are getting milked pretty hard from these payment processing companies, and you get hassled a lot. And it's quite annoying to see how much power they actually have and how they can fuck up your day, to put it bluntly, by just implementing new rules for transactions where it's like, okay, you have this one product that's suddenly very successful, and then PayPal says, yeah, no, fuck you. We are keeping your money because we think you're doing something illegal. That's actually something that happened to us in 2021 when we single-handedly raised the Bitcoin node count by, I think it was 2%. Yeah, because we made this special offer for a Bitcoin node based on a Raspberry Pi. So we talked to all our suppliers and said, yeah, we want to do this special deal for a Raspberry Pi based Bitcoin node. So give us the best price you can. And well, we were the cheapest price on the internet. And we sold, I think, about 300 or something nodes within the European Union. And the problem that we had was that at the second day of our awesome going offer for the week, PayPal sent us an email and said, yeah, you have suspicious activity on your account. We are keeping, I think it was about 30,000 euros in your account, and you have to provide us with proof. So instead of celebrating the fact that we were providing such a great value for the Bitcoin network, just that there are more nodes available, I had to talk to PayPal for 2 days. And I called every number that I had from PayPal and got redirected so many times until finally at the second day, someone who actually had something to say looked at the papers, because we could provide, of course, all the invoices that we had from our suppliers that we have the product and not just like, I don't know, some vaporware on Kickstarter where they say, oh yeah, it's going to be the best game ever and we'll probably deliver in 2 years. But hey, I'll take you $8 million, right? No, we actually had to order the wares, and I had to call all my suppliers. And you don't know how super embarrassing it is to call the suppliers. Oh, from my perspective, it was embarrassing for them. I explained it to them and said, yeah, so please don't sell our stock. I have the money, kind of, but PayPal just blocked us. And I remember one of our electronics suppliers, he was laughing at the phone and he said, well, welcome to the club. It's your first time. He was like, he was very nice about it. Said, yeah, we'll reserve your products finally. And then as soon as the money was released, we could, of course, order them from them. And they were super happy about it. And I think the Bitcoin community was happy about it. But again, the only people who made actually substantial bank in this transaction was, of course, PayPal. So PayPal gained the most from this transaction. We reduced our cut so low just to improve the decentralization of the network. So you could, of course, say, yeah, I like to use my credit card with my points and PayPal and stuff, but you actually like finance these people who think they can decide who is allowed to receive money or not. And that's like absolute counter example to what Bitcoin should stand for, or what we should stand for in this regard. So yes, I'm very happy to give a 3% discount on every purchase on our site if it means that I have not to give PayPal any cent more.
Yes,
Long
and
rant.
we should all figure out along the way that economics is all about supply and demand. We should take it to this first principle. And if you follow the advice of Michael Saylor, for example, who says that you should never spend your Bitcoin and you should borrow fiat against it instead, what you're doing is not genius in any way. You're actually increasing the demand for US dollars, and you are keeping the demand for Bitcoin constant. This means that you're giving the US dollar more legitimacy on the markets, and maybe that you get to keep your Bitcoin if you get to pay back the loan that you have taken. But still, it's not the ideal way to build an economy. You're not really doing anything for Bitcoin other than keeping the stash for yourself. You're not building an economy, and you're giving the US dollar more utility. And I don't see that as being the Bitcoin way of approaching the situation. I guess I'm old enough to remember when Bitcoin was supposed to replace the US dollar, not complement it.
Yeah, and I look forward to the day where we can price everything in our store in Bitcoin, and it's just that. Like, I'm still on the replace fiat side with it, and well, I mean, the problem is that when Bitcoin grew, one of the things that attracted a lot of people to it was the price going up, and not so much Bitcoin replacing the US dollar or fiat in general. And with it came ideas on how to get more fiat, as expected. And the thing with the permissionless space is that there will be people who come in and do things you might not like, and that's just one of them. And I acknowledge that. I might even do some things for myself that might not necessarily benefit the Bitcoin ecosystem or economy, but I try, and working with ShopInBit is one. So I think it's just being more mindful, and for people who are here not just because number go up, but because of what Bitcoin can actually do. To start supporting Bitcoin businesses, Bitcoin podcasts, and just try to get this economy really moving forward.
And there's like so much that we can do, right? Like we're if you're looking at the general economy or free markets in general, right? The human mind is able to produce almost anything you can imagine, and there is always someone who wants that kind of product. Might not be next door, but it could be at the other side of the world, right? But right now, what the Bitcoin economy itself offers is very limited. Of course, well, we offer 800,000 products. Yeah, that's nice. But what we would need more is like independent manufacturers of all kinds of things, be it honey, be it toys, be it clothing, or whatever.
Alpaca socks.
Alpaca socks, yes, the old school classic. Yeah, like something like that. So if you have any kind of skill or any product that you can produce or any kind of service that you can offer, why not just offer it for Bitcoin? Like we need all hands on deck, right? What I totally would love is like a full rap album with Bitcoin lyrics, but it doesn't have to be like only about Bitcoin. Like I would like to have it like woven in like these old school conspiracy theories that Freemasons are in everything that has to do with art, music, and stuff, right? So, but on the other side, like and there are always nods and references to, yeah, it was 21 blocks away, or hard money, or die, motherfucker, something like, I don't know. I just spitballing here. It can be everything and anything that you can imagine that the human mind is capable of producing. So, or like a full-blown manga adaptation of the Satoshi story. I don't know. And then it's like I had this crazy idea last week, and like, what would happen if you write a chapter for My Hero Academia and make Ludwig von Mises a professor at their high school, and his superpower is foretelling the future because he has the superpower called praxeology, right? And the students then later find out that he has no superpowers. Everyone thinks he has superpowers because he can like assess all these macro movements in the crime world of, I don't know, of Tokyo, right? But in the end, he has no superpowers. He's just that intelligent and understands human action to the fullest, right? That would be like, if you could give it a classic manga anime spin where it goes over the top and Luffy von Mises just comes in with this ridiculous red lightning of a bow tie, right? So I don't know. It was just one crazy idea that I had. So there are so many possibilities where we could go from here. And I hope that some people in the audience are inspired to do just like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. Let's try it out. Try to make something that appeals, of course, to the Bitcoin economy, but could also, that is my second gripe with the current state of the Bitcoin economy. You know what I really hate? I hate when people say, okay, I'm doing a Bitcoin business, and they just slap on the open source Bitcoin logo on a fucking t-shirt and call it a day and say, yeah, we are a fashion brand. No, fuck you or not. That's the same shit other people did since 2011 or something. So, like, have a little bit more aspiration to do something bigger, right? Like, for example, if you're, let's stay with the comic example, right? So you're writing a Bitcoin comic, right? You, of course, want it to appeal to Bitcoiners, but can it compete on the marketplace against, like, from story-wise, the drawings and stuff? Can it compete against, let's say, Spawn, for example, or Spider-Man? Well, Spider-Man before 2012, probably, right? So could it compete in a regular marketplace that kids will come up and take a look at your comic and say, oh, man, who's this Satoshi man? I want to find out what his adventures are. And it doesn't have to be all gruesome and violent, but it could be anything, right? So just as a regular point of reference for yourself, like, is that what you're doing, providing some kind of value to the Bitcoin economy? And is it in any way competitive against what the fiat market can churn out at any point right now? So that's like that's what I'm hoping, that there will be enough input of new Bitcoiners who will just produce all these kinds of cool and crazy products, things, services, art, music, whatever, that inspire new Bitcoiners to come in. And then we have this awesome positivity loop, because people get paid in Bitcoin then as well. And then you have this, like, I don't know, if maybe some guys from Bitcoin Ikazi, like from Africa, start to do a comic book which starts selling awesome worldwide. Like, let's imagine if they do not have to share a 3% cut with these vultures of PayPal, right? And then just ship out their comic, and becomes an international success, and everyone knows, oh, these are the Bitcoin guys, man. I get a discount as well when I pay with Bitcoin, and it's high quality, man. And I want to collect these comic books, and I want to, like, bestow it upon my grandchildren and tell them, yes, back in 2023, I bought this comic book for 0.005 BTC. It was like 500,000 sets. And boy, oh boy, am I happy that I bought it. What? You spent 500 million sets? Are you insane, Grandpa? Like, something like that. So that's what I'm hoping for in general.
It's nice to have a call to action to people who are coming to this space, and I think that would be interesting to see. Actually, I was thinking about the fellow points lovers, as mentioned by Jimmy. Again, I'm one of them. I would like to see a card where you pay, it sends Bitcoin. The person also just receives Bitcoin. No conversion to fiat, all just Bitcoin. And it gives you points. I would love that card too.
Yeah, I guess it's hard for it to give you points in any way unless you have some sort of centralized entity. And that's kind of anti-Bitcoin, if you ask me.
Well, no, the points doesn't have to have like the same value as it does in the United States. I mean, honestly, the points system also here in Europe isn't very good. Like it could just, mean something else. And like people who want to support such an ecosystem will say, oh, if you have 500 points, you get a free plushie or something. Or, if you have 10,000 points, you get one shout out at a podcast or something like that. So you can provide intangible stuff for the points, and it doesn't have to have it doesn't have to be a centralized entity doing that. It could just be an entirely also decentralized thing where people just try to encourage people to spend Bitcoin. Anyway, I haven't thought it through. There are certainly holes.
Hear me out on this one. You get a multi-sig, right? And in that multi-sig, you put the Bitcoin, and you also put some NFTs minted on Bitcoin with ordinals. And you pay with Bitcoin, and that's my cat. I don't know what's wrong.
It's okay.
I should check.
I have two cats as well.
You get an NFT as opposed to points. That was my idea.
Yeah, that works too. It's like proof that you're part of the economy.
And also, it's like there could also be a way that someone says, "Yeah, fuck it, I don't care if I have no privacy. If I get some points as well, you could of course make it. I will probably not make it. Like, I just want to point that out." But there might be someone who's smart enough, and I think the closest thing to that is from Tom. I cannot spell his last name, but he runs SatsSpec. I don't know if you've heard of it. You can just get SatsSpec when you just shop on other stores that are not ShopInBit. But he's a very cool guy, and it's kind of, it goes into that direction, but it's still a little bit more private than the regular points collecting systems. Is that bonus systems, whatever, right? And so yeah, there is a market for everything. Like, you don't have to be this privacy nut like I am, or as Travin is, but you can like just build it. There might be a market for it, even if we don't agree with it. And if people have a problem with ordinals on Bitcoin or NFTs on Bitcoin, well, yeah, I don't like them either. But if you can afford the fees for it, then just be my guest. I don't care. Like, who am I to judge what people want to buy? And that's something we should all keep at heart.
Yeah, sometimes I get this feeling that people on Twitter should just get off their screens, get off their chairs, and maybe read some Mises or some Nick Szabo or whatever, just to remind themselves why they're here in the first place. There are too many people on Twitter trying to police you, and I'm talking to you, Mr. Huddle. That's all you do all day.
Yeah, what did you say? I'm not up to date with the gossiping of the Twitter Bitcoin sphere.
No, it's not about something specific. It's just about a kind of behavior. There are people, I guess, who have nothing better to do with their lives than tell others what they should think. And that's what they do all day long. If they see anything, they follow you, and then they see that you posted something which goes against the gospel, and they get you in line. That, I guess, that's the role that they're playing.
Well, to quote someone very smart, haters gonna hate. No, no, I'm just being mean now. Yeah, like, of course, it's always a good recommendation to read some Mises or Rothbard, right? But that's part of the permissionless stuff. So as Travin already said, or Tavern, as he likes to call himself now, there will always be someone who hates what you are doing, but Bitcoin allows everyone to just coexist in a peaceful manner. And, well, if you have nothing better to do than to tell people what they can do with their Bitcoin or not, Like it's that's my personal gripe with Saifedean. Like I like his books, and I like to recommend it to people if they want to have a little bit more, let's say, extreme approach to being about Bitcoin. But he says the same thing about spending Bitcoin, that it's stupid and you shouldn't do it. Yeah, sure, you can say that. I think it's a stupid remark to make because it undermines the whole Bitcoin circular economy theme. But be my guest. Please keep using Bitcoin, Saifedean, because it also helps on other fronts. So,
I mean, I think it's a good sign of ecosystem and economy growth that there are people who disagree with how things should be used. And the best thing about it is, we all can have our opinions, and I may disagree with some people, but I love that they can have that opinion and they have that control over their own Bitcoin. And I have control over my own, and everybody else has their own control, and they can choose themselves what they want to do with it. And that's just amazing. If I want to, something I always give in my presentations, and I used to live in a dictatorship. Okay, it was Fiji, but still, it's a dictatorship. It was rough for Fijians especially. You couldn't send funds if you wanted to hire somebody who was against the dictatorship. You couldn't do that because a lot of the credit cards and PayPal and money transfer places didn't want your business to send money there. But some did actually, and they just charged a really high fee. But with Bitcoin, it's a decision between me and the person receiving the funds, and that's just amazing. And so I look forward to more disagreements actually are in the Bitcoin space, because especially as more people trade privacy for convenience, and as you mentioned, it goes against the Bitcoin ethos about having more centralized entities, kind of like being a middleman and being rent seeking. But unfortunately, that's we might not like it, but that's going to happen. And but the nice thing is, once we get to that point, that's just a different problem, and I think it's a good problem to have, because then it's signaled we've grown even more. But for us to keep growing, have to build the economy and just kickstart things.
Yeah, and you mentioned a magical phrase, which is circular economy. There's a lot of people who mention this, and I'm surprised that Bitrefill is this successful selling gift cards, and you guys are not as successful as Bitrefill, while you guys actually sell mobile phones and computers and lots of stuff that we use every day, and people can buy them for Bitcoin. Maybe you need better marketing or something.
Yeah, definitely. I'm fucking up my own introduction speech, so you probably
I got called Tavern on a podcast. Way to go for like my personal branding.
I mean, it's Tavern and you do hotels, so it makes sense. You talk to Tavern about your hotel booking. Who's that guy who manages hotel bookings? Oh, Tavern. Hi, Tavern. How do you do? What happened to my booking?
No, but it's a fair point, right? So Bitrefill is successful because they run a good business. That's like something you have to keep in mind. Sergey keeps his stuff on lock, and they've been longer on the market than us, so that's one thing. The other thing that is a little bit of expectation management, right? So some people think that we can outbid everyone on the market on every product in pricing, and I recently read something about the revenue of Amazon. So Amazon does $21,000 gross revenue per second, right? So we are a small team. We're like 4 people total, right? We cannot compete with Amazon. This is ridiculous. If you are thinking that we can outcompete Amazon on every price that they offer, it's ridiculous. They make $21,000 per second in gross revenue worldwide. That means they can buy way bigger stock of products and, of course, get better prices. And
that also means that they can buy Bitcoin a second.
Yes, of course. Of course. They can buy a Bitcoin per second and probably get a tax refund or something. I don't know. But the point is, we are focusing on the stuff that we are good at, and that is privacy and making using Bitcoin as easy as possible. I personally don't think it's the easiest way to use Bitrefill, because you first buy the voucher and then you have to type in the voucher into the store, and you are limited to the shops that they currently support, which are quite a lot. Don't get me wrong. They support quite a lot of shops. But still, does it really help the Bitcoin economy that you bought the vouchers? Because what happens on the other side, at the receiving end of the vouchers, right? So the shops that are listed there with their vouchers, they only receive their euros or their US dollars or Great Britain pounds, and they never get into contact with Bitcoin. I have talks with our suppliers all the time, and I'm going on their nerves with, hey, why don't you accept Bitcoin? And of course, it's a slow conversation, but if they are just getting paid and it doesn't matter to them because their business model is kind of reliant on that it never changes, then for me personally, I don't think it's the best value that you can get for the Bitcoin economy. And so it's a tricky situation, right? So we try, of course, to grow and expand, but we had to first find out what our main selling point actually is. And I think we finally found it, narrowed it down, and doubled down on it. And that is the privacy part. So that's why I actually chose my name. I like to call it stage name, Lando Rothbardian, because, well, first of all, I want to make sure that no one thinks I'm a communist, because sometimes you get ridiculous questions like, hey, are you a communist? I'm like, fuck no, please go die somewhere else. No, but Lando Calrissian in the original Star Wars trilogy, he is like the perfect allegory for myself, because he has no force powers, and he is just an entrepreneur working his way within the Galactic Empire. He's just trying to find the nooks and crannies where he can just get some value out of it and maybe help some people on the way. And since I'm no super shadowy super coder or something like that, I have no force powers. I just try to get people some extra privacy and help them live their Bitcoin life as fiat free as possible. And that's what we at ShopInBit do. That's all we do. That's just our thing. And I hope that more people get to experience this feeling of getting stuff without going through third parties who will probably spy your data out. So yeah, that was my long explanation for.
Yeah, that's a very good distinction, because when you buy something on Amazon, you also sell your data to Amazon. They mine every piece of information about what you're buying, about your identity, about your preferences. To them, it's a huge business to know what you're interested in. Whereas in the case of ShopInBit, you can just not set up an account and make orders whenever you need stuff, and you delete the data after 30 days. So for people who are cautious about other companies storing their information, like their shipping data, I guess it's a pretty good model. By the way, in which jurisdiction are you allowed to delete the data after 30 days?
Well, we are a Polish company, so it's every jurisdiction. And I have to thank the European Union. Yes, that's the only time you will hear this sentence from me in this context. I have to thank the European Union for the GDPR regulations, because it gives me allows me to just straight up delete the data, because that is 100% GDPR conform. I just have to keep it on the invoices. So if you want to make sure that your data stays safe, there's an invoice address and there's a delivery address. That's what I can say.
All right, so we discussed about Bitrefill, which has been around for a longer time than ShopInBit. But at the same time, we should also acknowledge the distinction between them, not just in terms of what kind of partners it pays and the fact that it most likely converts in fiat immediately, but also the fact that they offer something which is natively digital. they don't ship any kind of product to your door. And I guess some Bitcoiners prefer that because they can pay their bills, they can order stuff with their vouchers or gift cards or whatever. But in your case, you're delivering serious stuff, which is physical, which has a weight to it, which requires a mailing address, which has warranty and stuff that you can touch and you can use in your daily life. And both of these businesses have their separate use cases. One is for people who are digital nomads, I guess, and the other one is for people who want to buy stuff for their homes, for their computer setups, for their gaming experiences, for their sexual fantasies, and you have quite a lot of that stuff. I don't know why, but anyway, I'm not judging.
So shipping products is a different kind of beast. So there can always happen stuff, and you have to talk to the carriers, because you might not think it, but even if you have tracked shipping, stuff gets lost all the time. And what is particularly difficult for us, of course, is that when stuff gets lost, that we don't get the scam label. Because for Bitrefill, it's easy. They send the code out within a couple of minutes, I think, or even seconds, whatever. And then it's done. But some products sometimes take 2 weeks to arrive because we have to pre-order them from a supplier or something else. And then the package gets lost on the way. And it's like super annoying to do that. But what I found very, very interesting are Bitcoiners as a customer base, right? So usually people talk about how it's awesome that you receive instant payments and stuff. That's cool as well. But the cooler part for me is that the Bitcoin standard actually works in the sense of that people are more conscious with their spending. So I did a survey of our return rate in comparison to regular e-commerce, right? So if you look at Amazon and other big marketplaces, then it's about 20 to 25% of all orders that are being returned within the 14 days of a right of withdrawal phase, right? So you could easily say that every fourth order will just be sent back without a specific reason. And we at ShopInBit, or especially with our Bitcoin customers, we have a 1% return rate. So people don't go to ShopInBit and say, yeah, I don't know, I have money to spend, fuck it, let's just order a couple of stuff, and if I don't like it, I just send them back. No, they think before they start spending it, and therefore we have 1% return rate. This is ridiculous. Like our regular customers who are not from the Bitcoin space and pay with fiat money, they are at about 15%. So even within our own little bubble, we can see a difference of 14% in return rates. Just to marinate a little bit on that idea, that it's such an improvement for both parties, because they don't receive products they don't like, and I don't have to get products back, control them. Sometimes products get damaged on the way back, and then of course we have to discard them or recycle them or whatever. And it's a very bad situation to be in if every fourth order, oh my God, like I would be so depressed if every fourth order was just a return, because it means every fourth step, every fourth order that we do was just wasted time and energy and money, of course.